Hey everyone, welcome back to Switch Top. Today, we're counting down the 20 games you absolutely need to play on Nintendo Switch 2. These are the titles that everyone must have on Nintendo Switch 2, games in 2026. The Legend of Heroes Trails Beyond the Horizon builds on the series' long-running foundations, while confidently pushing its systems forward, making it a standout JRPG experience. Combat revolves around a refined hybrid model that lets you fluidly shift between real-time field battles and tactical turn-based command encounters, rewarding both quick reactions and careful planning. Mechanics like shard commands and awakening states add layers of customization and momentum, while the ZOC system introduces time manipulation elements that open up smarter positioning, controlled aggression, and creative party setups. Exploration takes place across the Calvard Republic, with dense hubs, story-driven locations, and optional activities that deepen both world-building and gameplay experimentation, including challenge dungeons designed to test party synergy. Narratively, the game leans into political tension, technological ambition, and moral ambiguity, following intersecting protagonists whose personal struggles are tightly woven into a broader mystery surrounding humanity's future. Dialogue-heavy and lore-rich by design, the story favors slow-burn payoff and character development over spectacle, creating a grounded yet ambitious tone.
Bring it on!
Here's some extra!
What?
That'll cost you!
Raidou Remastered, the mystery of the Soulless army, blends detective storytelling with action RPG combat in a setting that stands apart from typical genre fare. Set in a stylized version of 1930s Tokyo, the game follows Raidou Kuzunoha 14th, a devil summoner working undercover as a detective, unraveling a case that steadily expands into a supernatural conspiracy. Gameplay focuses on real-time combat, where light and heavy melee attacks, firearms, elemental magic, and demon abilities are combined fluidly, encouraging aggressive play and smart resource management. Demons fight alongside you in real time, each bringing unique skills and elemental traits, and systems like demon negotiation and fusion allow for deep party customization that directly affects combat strategy. Mag management plays a key role, pushing players to stay active in battle to sustain magic and summons, while exploiting enemy weaknesses keeps encounters tactical rather than mindless. Exploration and investigation are tightly connected, with city districts, side cases, and NPC interactions reinforcing the noir atmosphere and narrative pacing. Persona 3 Reload reimagines a genre-defining RPG with modern systems while preserving the emotional weight that made it memorable. Gameplay revolves around a refined blend of turn-based combat and life simulation, where dungeon crawling during the mysterious dark hour contrasts with carefully managed daily routines at school. Battles emphasize exploiting elemental weaknesses, persona affinities, and smart party composition, with full party control and the shift mechanic allowing momentum-driven turns that reward planning rather than brute force. Persona fusion remains central, encouraging experimentation as you build powerful combinations tailored to different encounters. Outside combat, time management shapes the experience. Choosing how to spend each day affects character relationships, personal growth, and combat efficiency, creating a strong link between narrative and mechanics. The story leans heavily into themes of mortality, identity, and connection, following a group of students facing supernatural threats while struggling with very human fears and doubts. Character development unfolds gradually through social interactions that feel meaningful rather than optional, grounding the larger conflict in personal stakes. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond continues the series' signature first-person exploration while expanding its mechanics in ways that feel deliberate and cohesive. Players once again step into the power suit of Samus Aran, navigating a vast, interconnected alien world built around classic Metroidvania design, where progression is driven by careful exploration, environmental scanning, and the gradual acquisition of new abilities that open previously inaccessible paths. Combat blends lock-on targeting, precise shooting, and varied weaponry, staying true to the Prime formula while introducing new powers that allow Samus to manipulate the environment and influence encounters more strategically. These abilities are integrated into both combat and puzzle design, encouraging experimentation rather than brute force. Traversal is further diversified, with moments of faster movement across broader areas, creating a contrast between tight, atmospheric interiors and more open regions that emphasize scale and discovery. Storytelling remains subtle and environmental, unfolding through world design, lore fragments, and encounters with rival forces that hint at larger threats without heavy exposition. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut delivers a refined version of the series' defining origin story, blending raw street combat with dense narrative and an endlessly engaging city sandbox. Gameplay centers on third-person brawling built around multiple fighting styles for both Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima, each offering distinct movesets that can be switched on the fly to adapt to crowd control, duels, or aggressive pressure. Combat is fast, weighty, and highly interactive, with heat actions turning the environment itself into a weapon for cinematic finishers. Outside of fights, the game opens up detailed urban districts inspired by 1980s Japan, packed with side stories, minigames, and optional activities that range from arcade classics and karaoke to business management systems that add surprising strategic depth. The director's cut expands the experience with additional cutscenes that further flesh out character motivations and relationships, sharpening an already strong narrative focused on loyalty, ambition, and survival within the criminal underworld. The story balances intense drama with moments of absurd humor, giving the world a distinct personality that never feels disposable. Pokémon Legends ZA reworks the Pokémon formula into a more dynamic action RPG structure set entirely within Lumiose City, placing exploration, combat, and story inside a dense urban space. Gameplay shifts away from classic turn-based encounters toward real-time battles where trainers and Pokémon move freely, requiring careful positioning, timing, and awareness of cooldowns to gain the upper hand. Attacks unfold directly in the environment, encouraging reactive play rather than menu-driven decisions, while dodging and spacing become just as important as type advantages. Mega Evolution returns as a central mechanic, functioning through a charge-based system that allows Megaforms to be activated mid-battle, dramatically altering momentum and strategy, especially when facing unstable Mega-evolved Pokémon that act as major threats. Exploration blends seamlessly with combat through wild zones scattered across the city, offering side missions, Pokémon encounters, and narrative interactions that reinforce Lumiose's ongoing redevelopment and underlying tension. The story follows your rise through competitive challenges like the ZA Royale, while gradually uncovering the mystery behind the city's transformation and the chaos surrounding Mega Evolution.
Strike first before being seen, and you'll land a surprise attack. During battles, using a super effective move at the right moment is key. And with Mega Evolution,
Kirby Air Riders revives the spirit of fast, accessible arcade racing, while refining it with modern design sensibilities that emphasize flow and replayability. Gameplay is built around momentum-based racing rather than complex inputs, allowing players to focus on positioning, timing, and smart use of boosts as they glide across vibrant, open-ended tracks. Each air ride machine offers distinct handling traits, encouraging different playstyles that range from high-speed risk-taking to more controlled, technical approaches. A signature mode centers on large, semi-open maps where racers freely explore, collect upgrades, and trigger unpredictable events before transitioning into a final competitive challenge, giving each session a dynamic structure that rewards adaptability. Items and light combat mechanics add tension without overshadowing the core racing, creating moments of disruption and comeback potential rather than constant chaos. While there is no traditional story focus, the game's personality shines through its colorful presentation, playful tone, and sense of discovery driven by experimentation. Multiplayer is a major pillar, designed to be immediately approachable for newcomers while still offering depth for experienced players through mastery of movement and route choices. Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster delivers a traditional JRPG experience elevated by systems that reward planning and experimentation rather than raw stats. Combat is turn-based at its core, but defined by the Brave and Default mechanics, allowing characters to either stockpile actions for defense or spend future turns in advance for aggressive bursts, creating a constant risk-reward dynamic that keeps battles engaging. This system pairs naturally with a deep job framework, where characters can freely switch classes and combine abilities across roles, encouraging creative party builds and powerful synergies tailored to different encounters. Exploration follows a familiar structure of towns, dungeons, and overworld travel, yet side quests often branch into meaningful, character-driven stories that expand both gameplay options and narrative context. The story begins as a classic crystal restoration quest, but gradually unfolds into a more reflective journey about fate, sacrifice, and choice, using repetition and perspective shifts to challenge player expectations. Character development is given room to breathe, grounding the larger fantasy conflict in personal motivations and emotional stakes. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment expands the Zelda universe through large-scale, high-intensity action built around the Warriors formula, while placing stronger emphasis on strategy and lore. Gameplay centers on Musou-style combat, where players command iconic heroes across massive battlefields, cutting through waves of enemies while capturing keeps, defending allies, and reacting to shifting objectives in real time. Each character features a distinct moveset inspired by their weapons and abilities, encouraging varied playstyles rather than repetitive button mashing, while special attacks and powerful abilities reward smart timing and positioning. Tactical decision-making plays a meaningful role, as managing multiple fronts, prioritizing key threats, and issuing commands to allied units can significantly impact mission flow. Progression systems deepen engagement through character upgrades, skills, and equipment, giving a strong sense of growth across story missions and optional challenges. Narratively, the game explores a previously unseen era in Hyrule's history, focusing on the Age of Imprisonment and the ancient conflicts that shaped the kingdom's fate. Cinematic storytelling ties personal struggles to large-scale warfare, adding emotional weight to the spectacle.
There's something sinister about all of this. But I must try and fight. I'll help as well.
Octopath Traveler 0 refines the series' HD 2D formula by pairing its trademark presentation with deeper systems and a more cohesive narrative structure. Combat remains turn-based and centered on the break and boost mechanics, rewarding careful exploitation of enemy weaknesses and precise timing to amplify attacks, but it expands strategic depth through larger party management and more flexible role swapping during encounters. Team composition matters more than ever, pushing players to balance offensive pressure with support and control as battles escalate in complexity. Exploration spans a richly detailed world, where dungeons, towns, and overworld paths feed directly into a new town-building system, allowing players to rebuild a ruined settlement whose growth unlocks upgrades, crafting options, and gameplay advantages. This mechanic ties progression to the world itself, rather than isolated menus, reinforcing a strong sense of purpose. Narratively, the game shifts toward a unified storyline, following a customizable protagonist whose journey is shaped by loss, ambition, and the gathering of allies, with individual character arcs feeding into a broader conflict rather than standing alone. Themes of restoration, consequence, and identity are woven into both gameplay and story progression.
Now,
Right. That hurt.
what should I do? Be strong! Press the attack!
Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles brings one of the genre's most respected strategy RPGs back into focus through its layered mechanics and politically driven storytelling. Gameplay is built around deep, grid-based, turn-based combat set on isometric battlefields, where positioning, elevation, turn order, and terrain effects are just as important as raw stats. Every action demands foresight, turning each encounter into a careful exercise in planning rather than reaction. The robust job system remains a defining pillar, offering a wide range of classes that can be freely combined, allowing players to experiment with intricate party builds and powerful skill synergies that evolve over time. Progression feels deliberate and rewarding, encouraging long-term thinking across battles instead of short-term optimization. The narrative unfolds during the Lion War, following Ramza Buell as he becomes entangled in a web of political manipulation, class conflict, and moral compromise, with personal ideals constantly challenged by the realities of power and corruption. Characters are driven by believable motivations rather than clear-cut heroism, giving the story a grounded, almost historical tone rarely seen in the genre. Mario Kart World evolved the classic kart racing formula into a fully connected experience that emphasizes scale, freedom, and non-stop competition. Traditional races remain at the core, with familiar characters, tight controls, and item-driven chaos. But the structure expands into a seamless world where tracks are linked by open roads and shared environments, allowing players to move naturally between races without breaking flow. Grand Prix events feel more dynamic as courses blend into one another, while a dedicated free roam mode encourages exploration, shortcut discovery, and spontaneous challenges scattered across the map. Races support larger player counts than ever, amplifying unpredictability and keeping momentum high from start to finish. New movement mechanics such as rail grinding, wall riding, and enhanced jumps add a skill-based layer to driving, rewarding precise control without sacrificing accessibility. Classic items return alongside subtle environmental influences like weather and time of day shifts that slightly alter track behavior and visibility. Competitive modes are complemented by elimination-style challenges, where placement at checkpoints determines survival, adding tension beyond the finish line. Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D Remake reimagines the origins of the genre with a careful balance of classic design and modern refinement, presenting two foundational adventures through striking HD 2D visuals that blend pixel art with depth-rich environments. Gameplay stays rooted in traditional turn-based combat, built around deliberate decision-making, spell usage, and resource management. But thoughtful updates smooth the experience with improved pacing, clearer feedback, and quality-of-life enhancements that reduce friction without erasing the original's identity. The first adventure emphasizes solitary heroism and exploration, while the second expands the formula with party-based combat, broader world traversal, and more complex encounter design, creating a natural sense of progression between the two stories. Exploration spans overworlds, dungeons, and towns that feel more alive thanks to visual depth and environmental detail, encouraging steady discovery rather than constant handholding. Narratively, both stories revolve around the legacy of the legendary hero Erdrick, following new generations as they confront rising darkness and defend fragile kingdoms, with added scenes and expanded context enriching character motivations and world building. Split Fiction is a co-op-focused action-adventure built entirely around creativity, collaboration, and constant mechanical reinvention. The game follows two writers, Mio and Zoe, who become trapped inside fractured versions of their own stories after a technology experiment pulls them into overlapping fictional worlds. Gameplay is designed exclusively for two players, demanding tight communication and coordination, as each level introduces new mechanics, abilities, and perspectives that dramatically change how you interact with the environment. Rather than relying on a single core system, Split Fiction shifts genres frequently, blending platforming, combat, puzzles, and cinematic set pieces that range from sci-fi action and high-speed chases to fantasy-inspired scenarios and surreal detours. Each character often has a unique role or tool in a given section, forcing players to think cooperatively rather than independently. Puzzles and encounters are built around timing, positioning, and shared problem-solving, keeping repetition low and engagement high. The narrative is closely tied to these mechanics, using the clash between the characters' creative visions to explore themes of identity, trust, and collaboration, while their relationship evolves naturally through play.
At Hazelight, we really love gameplay variety. That's why we added side stories that are completely different from the main path. Side stories are found in the main levels and looks like a portal. Once you enter, you end up in a new world.
Fascinating.
For example, how about flying around?
Trails in the Sky First Chapter serves as a carefully paced introduction to a richly interconnected JRPG world, emphasizing character growth, world building, and strategic depth over spectacle. The story follows Estelle Bright and her adopted brother Joshua as they begin their journey as junior members of the Bracer Guild, traveling across the Kingdom of Liberal while handling local requests that gradually pull them into larger political and military tensions. Gameplay blends traditional turn-based combat with light positional strategy, where turn order, movement on a grid, and area of effect abilities all factor into decision-making. A defining mechanic is the orbment system, which allows players to customize characters by slotting quartz that determine magic access, stat bonuses, and passive effects, encouraging experimentation and long-term planning, rather than fixed roles. Exploration unfolds through towns, roads, and dungeons, filled with NPCs whose dialogue evolves as the story progresses, making the world feel reactive and lived in. Side quests are tightly woven into the narrative, often reinforcing themes of responsibility and growth, rather than serving as filler.
Here we go!
I'll be your opponent.
Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 brings together two of the most imaginative 3D platformers ever made, built around gravity-defying level design that constantly reshapes how movement and exploration feel. Gameplay revolves around navigating small planets, curved surfaces, and floating structures where gravity shifts dynamically, asking players to think spatially as Mario runs along walls, ceilings, and spherical terrain. Each galaxy functions as a compact playground filled with focused challenges, from precision platforming and environmental puzzles to inventive boss encounters, all tied together by the pursuit of power stars that drive progression. Star bits act as both collectibles and light combat tools, adding a playful layer to interaction and exploration. Super Mario Galaxy 2 expands the formula with denser level design, faster pacing, and added mechanics like riding Yoshi, whose unique abilities introduce new movement options and puzzle solutions. While the story remains intentionally simple, Mario traveling through space to stop Bowser and save Princess Peach, the sense of adventure comes from constant mechanical creativity rather than narrative complexity. Hollow Knight Silksong builds on the foundations of its predecessor, while reshaping the experience around faster movement, sharper combat, and upward-driven exploration. Players take control of Hornet, whose agile moveset emphasizes speed, precision, and acrobatics, as she traverses the vast kingdom of Farloom, a world made up of tightly interconnected biomes filled with shortcuts, secrets, and layered vertical design. Exploration follows classic Metroidvania structure, with new traversal abilities gradually opening access to previously unreachable areas, encouraging careful observation and mastery of movement. Combat is more aggressive and fluid, centered on quick strikes, aerial control, and enemy pattern recognition rather than attrition. Defeated foes fuel the Silk resource, which replaces the original Soul system and is spent on healing and powerful skills, forcing players to balance offense and survival in every encounter. Customization comes through tools and crests that alter Hornet's abilities and combat options, allowing flexible playstyles without overcomplicating progression. The narrative unfolds subtly through environmental storytelling and optional quests, following Hornet's journey after her capture as she uncovers the mysteries and power structures of Farloom. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition delivers a sprawling, systems-driven RPG set in the neon-drenched streets of Night City, combining first-person combat, deep customization, and choice-driven storytelling into a cohesive experience. Gameplay centers on building V through cyberware, perks, and equipment, allowing players to specialize in gunplay, hacking, stealth, or flexible hybrid approaches that encourage experimentation in every encounter. Combat rewards mobility and smart ability usage, while hacking systems add a tactical layer that lets you control enemies, cameras, and environments in real time. Exploration and side quests play a major role, often offering branching outcomes and morally complex decisions that shape character relationships and narrative tone. The story focuses on identity, ambition, and loss, grounding its larger themes of corporate power and transhumanism in a personal, character-driven arc. On Nintendo Switch 2, the Ultimate Edition benefits from stronger hardware, targeting a far more stable experience with dynamic resolution scaling that can reach 1080p in handheld and higher when docked, alongside a generally locked 30 frames per second with fewer drops. Hades 2 expands on the fast, fluid combat and narrative-driven structure that defined its predecessor, while pushing both mechanics and scope further. Players take on the role of Melinoe, Princess of the Underworld, whose journey revolves around confronting Kronos, the Titan of Time, through repeated roguelike runs that branch across distinct regions filled with shifting enemies, hazards, and demanding boss encounters. Combat remains real-time and highly responsive, built around precise attacks, specials, dashes, and a magic-based resource system that rewards smart ability usage and adaptability rather than reckless aggression. Each run offers new builds through boons, upgrades, and weapon variations, keeping experimentation central to long-term progression. Outside of combat, the Crossroads Hub serves as a narrative and mechanical anchor, allowing players to craft tools, unlock weapons, strengthen abilities, and build relationships with mythological characters whose dialogue and storylines evolve over time. Storytelling is woven directly into the loop, blending personal stakes, divine conflict, and mythological lore that unfolds gradually across failures and successes alike. On Nintendo Switch 2, the game benefits from smooth, consistent performance that preserves responsiveness and visual clarity even during intense encounters.
Slowing down.
Donkey Kong Bananza reinvents Donkey Kong's platforming identity around large-scale destruction and free-form exploration, turning the environment itself into a core mechanic. Gameplay centers on Donkey Kong's raw strength, allowing him to smash through terrain, carve new routes, uncover hidden areas, and solve puzzles through controlled chaos rather than fixed paths. This destructible design feeds directly into traversal, combat, and discovery, rewarding curiosity and experimentation across a massive underground world filled with varied biomes like lava caverns, frozen zones, and dense jungle depths. Progression is supported by collectible Banandium gems used to upgrade abilities, alongside animal-themed transformations that introduce new movement and combat options such as enhanced speed, gliding, or brute force power. Pauline plays an active role both narratively and mechanically, using musical abilities to assist with combat, reveal secrets, and support cooperative play when a second player joins in. Classic elements like minecart rides and 2D platforming sections appear as focused challenges that nod to the series' roots without interrupting the broader sandbox flow. The story emphasizes teamwork and exploration rather than heavy dialogue, keeping momentum high. And there you have it, the top 20 must-have games for Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. It's going to be an incredible year for gaming, and I can't wait to dive into all of these. What games are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Switch Top for more Nintendo Switch 2 content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.